All right. Hey everyone. Okay, so I'm gonna do the latest Revulsion patch notes overview, and kind of just talk about stuff in general about the project and everything. So I just got out the latest patch, Friday night patch notes. I'm like actually kind of considering being somewhat uh consistent on my patches now. I like to do a Friday patch and then a Monday patch that kind of cleans anything up that went wrong on the Friday patch, or like little tiny features and stuff. So I ended up getting a lot of really good feedback this week from everybody on Discord. Um, Especially, it's really good getting feedback like this because sometimes I'll just forget about something, and even though it's super annoying, it's something that needs to be fixed. I'll have completely forgotten about it, or be so focused on something else because I tend to focus on things. So like when I'm working on something, I fucking focus on it. I'm trying not to do that too much, but it's just something. I guess it's just how my brain works. I guess, but so the first thing to do to take a look at, now we can take a look at these screenshots, is that Revulsion is now in a state where well, let's see, if I look at the full list of levels that are currently in the game right now, arted out, arted out, arted out, arted out, arted out, arted out, fully arted out, and fully arted out. That leaves this level. It needs a full art pass, partial art pass, full art pass, partial, partial, partial. I'm getting very close. All right, it's not gonna take very much longer. In fact, if I keep on the grindstone, by the end of the month, I could probably have all of these, or at least the last two full jobs that need to be done. This guy and this guy being the full out, levels that need to be, from start to finish, like fully arted out. While this one and this one are partial jobs that I can probably, tackle pretty quickly. In fact, you can probably get them both in the same week or something like that. And the same thing was, I think, even in this case, like this one probably barely needs anything at all. This one probably barely needs anything at all. Um, I can't remember. Oh yeah, this one does need attention. So this out of these, only one of these actually requires any real attention. So it's three maps that require considerable amount of attention, while the rest are just partial jobs that I could probably tackle fairly quickly and efficiently. It's getting very close to actually having all the levels in a fully arted out state. So with that said, I'm going to do a little bit of a fly through, showing off the most recent addition to the arted out level empire. um, yeah, well, it's a little too slow. And full screen and render mode. So this level here, you might be able to recognize it a little bit easier if you take a look at the starting area where you fight most of the stuff. This one uses some unique uh, materials, or well, meshes and stuff like that, to give it a little bit of a different look from the rest of the map, and I'm pretty happy with the results. It's pretty interesting. Um, so this is the first fast travel that you would spawn in on, and you'd kind of do your thing, like coming into the level here. I could actually probably just run the map. There we go. Yeah, nice creepy, right? So yeah, this is. I'd say it's a pretty big difference from what it was before. Bunch of gray boxes. You also start noticing that there's like rocks and mountainous terrain outside of the map. Um, so yeah, like it's come along. This level is now, so now you can actually play the game as of the patch that I just released earlier. As of now, you can have a fully arted out level every time you start a new mission. So there will be no more starting out in a gray box, starting your mission off in a gray box scenarios anymore. Like from now on, everything is gonna look like this or similar, something something along these lines. Um, so with that said, that's a pretty big. Uh, that's I'm pretty happy with that. I like that there's this much cool stuff with the art going on at the moment, and in particular, some of these areas just yeah, they were very very old school. I mean, you can't get look at that. I mean, this looks like it was released a long time ago. It's got that kind of look to it. Yet it's still using a lot of modern post processing effects and everything like that. It's just cool. Um, so with that said, moving on to the next part, Warpath has a secondary fast travel node that is closer to the final battle area. Yeah, let me go ahead and load up Warpath and show exactly what I'm talking about for that particular. This is while I was at it, I also fully arted out Warpath so I can kind of show off both of those at the same time. So like yeah, let's get faster. Okay, so you might recognize this level. Um, there were a whole bunch of changes recently that went into this, like the music doesn't constantly repeat and stuff like that. There's another change that I did that's not in the patch notes. You will always actually, no matter what difficulty you play on, encounter one giant. Now, these are the big armored dudes that you fight where you gotta like blow off their armor pieces. Like he's got a shield, a helmet, and a sword and like a two-handed axe kind of a thing. Well, he only uses it with one hand, but um, big massive like axe that he carries, and he walks at you really slowly, and he has this like death laser eye beam thing and stuff. And if you destroy his helmet, like it'll cut his health in half. But if you destroy his shield, like he loses armor on all of his other body parts. Like that guy is going to be a normal enemy that you encounter no matter what difficulty you play on. One of them is just always going to be right here, and they behave a little bit differently than the other mobs. A lot of the higher tier monsters will have their own, well, already do have their own behaviors. So in this case, as long as you don't damage the guy, he's just going to stand there guarding the entrance. So, if you're careful about not shooting him too early, he won't just start running at you while you're still all the way over here or something, because you don't want to fight him right here. There's no room. So, that's one change there. You'll notice also too there's art, uh, and all of this. No more gray box. In this entrance, and these areas right here are basically just the entrances from the other possible locations. Like you can enter the map from many different directions. That's just the patchwork functionality that I implemented a while back. Uh, because of the exits being in random directions, sometimes I will actually bunch up a lot of the entrances into one area so that I can still have you go on a linear path afterwards. It's sort of a neat like trick so that I can still do levels that are long and arduous, which is what this level was designed to be in the first place, is long and arduous, sort of like a trying to beat the first Ninja Gaiden or something like that. You got this like really long path and then a hard fight right at the very end, and if you die, you got to start all over again. That doesn't really work very well, though. I mean, that was the original idea, but I'm not actually a fan of it anymore because I'm watching people play this level and they get killed and they have to run all the way through, fight all these monsters all over again, and they just they end up doing what's really not even terribly challenging content all the way up to the very end. In which case, they die, and then they have to do it all over again. And then this time they might decide, hey, you know what, maybe I'm not ready for this fight, maybe I'll go back to Sanctuary, but they still got to run all the way out here to get their shit again. And yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I think it didn't really work out in this particular case. So what I did was I made it so that the enemies that are in this area don't respawn. They get added to your progress tags essentially, which means that once you defeat the enemies in this general area, they never respawn even if you go back to the fast travel. I added a fast travel over here in this corner here. So once you get to that and you kill everything in this area one time, you basically have kind of like a free run without having too much more to worry about going back in this direction here. And if you still want to do farming and stuff like that to maybe gather up some more extra resources so that you can buy something, or maybe I don't know, you could still go back this way and fight everything if you want to do that. So yeah, that's just a thing that definitely needed to happen. It's now in the map, and this map is now ready to go for it's a finished level. With that said, what's next on the patch notes? Floating combat text has been completely reworked so that it greatly reduces spam. Let me actually show this in the test level. Maybe it'd be better if I showed it on the Dark Base Start 01. So, I mean, I kind of showed this already, and it's a good thing that I have, like, the, oops, let it build its navigation. Alright. Alright. Okay, so, before, you see these numbers? Before, what would happen when I shot these guys, you would see like 20 numbers and they would all just spray up. Actually, you can actually already see it in the trailer because the trailer was using a previous version. The new trailer of the game, if you watch, you'll see there are points in time where there's just like text like pouring out of some of these enemies because, you know, so much damage is being done to them. So what happens now is I have roughly 4 different categories of damage types, and as the number is still live, all I do, 58, 116, 146, so like, if you do a lot of consecutive attacks in a row, you'll just see a bigger number. The number actually adds up. You see? So, critical damage gets its own category, regular damage gets its own category, resisted damage gets its own category, and critical damage can be resisted as well, like, you know, using a fire weapon, but you get a headshot on a demon with like a flamethrower. It annoys him a little bit more, but, you know, he's still resisting the damage, he's still resisting the fire. And in the same respect, you have like the way to resist ballistic damage, which is, you know, my submachine gun. See, resist. But as his armor was stripped away, it became regular damage again. So I did 870. Of course, these fucking demons floating all the way out here are just being annoying. I missed him. He resisted. Like, demons are resistant to lightning damage, but, you know, I'm hitting him with a fucking... Stay dead. So you'll see, like, this guy right here, Grenadiers are weak towards lightning damage. so it's effective. See the number actually added up. And there you go. Alright, so the numbers, so there's roughly 4 different categories. There'll be 5 once I add options, where you can actually see a unique number for damage if you decide to toggle it on. One of the things in the option menu, in this category here, I'm going to allow you to like show damage. Like you can actually turn the damage to floating text off altogether. But this is the default setting that I'm going to have for damage numbers and stuff. Yes, I'm actually aware of the fact that for some reason when you're inside of the options menu, the game isn't paused. I'll fix that. With that said, let's see. Oh yeah, I have a jetpack. Haha, it's not in the game yet, but it exists. Yeah, so that's a breakdown of the new damage numbers. What happened here? Oh, find path. He couldn't find a path to me. That just happens randomly. Let's see. Damage numbers consolidated, normal damage, critical damage, which is headshots, resisted damage, and effective damage. If you fire a shotgun or something that fires a lot of bullets very quickly, the one number will continually add up rather than spawning more numbers for each hit. On top of that, each category of damage will fly a specific distance from the enemy in specific patterns. So critical damage goes all the way up here, regular damage goes around here, resisted damage goes like somewhere in the middle here, and then effective damage goes up a little bit higher, so it's like almost as high as critical. And if you have the armor damage turned on, the armor damage comes all the way down here, and it's just a yellow number. My cat's attacking the bed. The plan will be to customize the functionality further down the road. Yeah, I do plan to add functionality to customize all this stuff. Okay, so loot bubble preview is now automatic. No need to press E, then press R. You just walk up to the loot bubble and look at it to see its contents seamlessly, then press E to loot all of it. This is like a huge difference, by the way, guys. And this was literally just some feedback that was just like, you know what, why don't you just like change it because it sucks right now. So basically, I was just like, oh yeah, I just left it this way for a while. But yeah, this was just brought up right like in Discord, and it was just like, all right, so let me grab an item and drop it on the ground so you can see it. Okay, so the way it used to work is you'd walk up to it and it would say press E to look at it, right? And then you'd have to press E, and then it would bring up the little window to the right, and then you could press R, right? Okay, I mean, it was like that because I want to have people like pay attention to what they're looting. But it turns out, I mean, it's stupid because you don't have to do it that way. Like, so what happens now is when you look at the item, it just does it. So I get rid of that entire step, and you can see the preview of the loot right there just by looking in the direction of a loot bubble, right? And now all you have to do is press E to pick it up. Big difference. Like, huge difference. It should be a lot easier. If you see loot, you just go, oh, okay, what's that? Got that. Press E. Press E. Like, you could be in the middle of a fight and loot something and, like, start shooting guys. Like, you don't have to do this whole, you know, 2 million steps just to loot a loot bubble. So that also has a little bit of a change on the functionality of the storage container. So I made the storage container to be more consistent with the vending machines and the fabricator. So is it press E for fabricator, press E vending machine, press E storage, right? So when you press E in the universal storage box is already like right here. You have the option to loot all right there. There's no preview with the storage box because it's like this. Like there's no preview for this vending machine or the fabricator. It's meant to just be an object that you use and you can store stuff in. So I'm storing my things, my Hermes boots, my helmet. Okay, so like see now everything's all stored in there, and then I can come in and be like, I want all of it back, and then I could just equip it all back again. And there you go. And then the same thing goes with all this over here with the easy mode helmet. I was like, oh, there's an easy mode helmet in there. If you want to just look, get a closer look at what's in there, you can just press tab, and it does bring this screen up where you can just grab the item that way. So it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot more consistent, it's just a huge improvement. I think so. I mean, not even just toot my own horn here, I just think that it's a really big difference. And I think you guys are probably going to agree with me on that wholeheartedly. Pressing shift while dismantling screen is active will dismantle the item. Small quality of life change. So one of the things I did in the last patch was I made it so that, let me full screen. I made it so that when you dismantle, it brings up this screen, but this is like a huge, like you have to go all the way down, do this. Now, like sometimes you'll get like 20 items that you gotta dismantle in a row. So basically all this does is, like, when you go to dismantle something, if you say left shift, dismantled. You didn't have to, you could just do this. It just makes it a little bit faster, a little bit easier. It's just nice. It's just nicer. Let's see what else. What else we got here? Okay, so the auto map has changed. Increased smoothness of auto map update considerably. It's like butter now. It damn well is. Double tap the map button while the map is out to make the map stationary. Single tap the map button while the map is out to remove the map. Okay, so one of the things that was kind of annoying, I think, and I did get feedback on this, whether or not it was like the having to press the map button twice in order to keep, to get rid of the map was annoying. So I made it so that you have to double tap if you want the map to be stationary. So let me get into a level. Okay, so here's the smoothness of the map now, by the way. Look at how much smoother this is. I mean, that's just woohoo! Like, before what would happen is it would like twitch and it wouldn't update, but now it's basically updating in real time. Alright. So that's yeah, much nicer. Much nicer. So if you just press M real quickly, the map will go away. However, if you double tap, the map will begin floating in place, and you can then, walk around looking at stuff. Get a better look at the rest of the map. And then you can just press M again to get rid of it. And there you go. That's it. What's he doing? Strange. Take a look at the, oh yeah, that's right, I didn't let it build navigation, so the navigation probably just didn't even exist. Let's see, anything, no, some weirdness, but I don't think that's anything that's gonna break anything. Maybe, doesn't seem to always be a problem, so whatever. That's it for the current patch notes, but there's some interesting feedback I can go over on the community hub, which I can actually take a look at here. Fun game, little feedback. Now this is actually quite a bit, but I'll go over it fairly quickly. Played this last weekend after an update. Bear in mind it's only a second go. Really fun to play so far. Appreciate its early days. Fun mix of rogue RPG shooter. Just some issues, questions. Okay, so this is the first one. I'll look into this. I've kind of noticed this myself because of the acceleration, right? Like, you have more air control now because of the acceleration. So I'm not really sure what to do, but it's basically, it seems to jump, it seems to jump too far. It's awkward. It's like you gotta get used to it, or maybe you just have too much air control. I don't know. I'll take a look at that. I'll mess around with it a little bit, but with the increased acceleration that I've done from the last two patches and stuff like that. The controls have been changed quite a bit. Second level, more ground textures, mud rock, look bad, smear, like they hadn't been loaded properly. Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's not consistent, although, hmm, I'm not really sure. Like I keep thinking about the terrain, but I'm not really sure exactly what to do with it. Because the terrain is really good for having larger open spaces because it's not as polygon heavy as the regular stuff, so I get away with having these more open spaces. But maybe the materials themselves could. I'm not really sure. Second level, let me have. Oh yeah, you might think that the weapons are overpowered, or it's like finding it. There's actually a lot of weapons in the game. You'll see. I give you a lot of options early on, but those are just options for like starting things out. Like you'll quickly find that there are just a lot of guns in the game, and since those weapons are not blueprints, uh, you won't be able to really kind of craft them. So like they'll become useless pretty quickly. So it's basically I'm just giving you a ton of options to begin the game with, and how things go from there is really kind of up in the air. Uh, yeah, that's interesting. It's sort of like yeah, the door opens up and there's just black. There's just darkness behind the door. I'll think about this a little bit more. It's possible that I could do something. I don't know what. Third level, safe room, wall text. Yeah, there should be actually a decal or something to go with that because it does look a little strange. Like Fabricator is just like literally like using the regular default font and stuff. Third level, the room after the entrance, the shadow lighting draw distance is a bit short. Sometimes there's stuff like that. I could take a look to see. I'll take a look at it. Floor wall, blood textures look a bit out of place with great pixel style. Too realistic looking. The rest of the game has a great QB voxel style, and I think this is actually repeated a few different times actually. The One of the ideas originally, I think there's an old video of me actually mentioning this and talking about it, is that um, the the idea for the realistic weapon sounds, effects, and blood is actually on purpose to kind of um, it to have sort of a juxtapositioning, if that makes any sense, to sort of give a more serious or a more weight to the way the weapons actually are. So like you have this like auto pistol that is just sort of like, you know, you have this like auto pistol that just looks like a bunch of blocks, but you don't even really. But then you use it and it's like almost literally feels a little bit like it's from Call of Duty or something. You're like, what the fuck? It's like, you know, a boxy pistol. But you start to think of it that way, and you think of it as this like auto pistol that's actually like fucking shit up, and the blood is actually really gory and actually like more realistic than the voxels. So in other words, like shit is really happening even though you're playing this cute like voxely kind of dark game. Uh there's actual weight behind some of the consequences and the tools that the player's actually utilizing, sort of like giving them a little bit more of a little bit more meaning beyond just the. And I think that actually ties in a little bit with the story. Although I guess regardless, it's still probably just going to come off being inconsistent. But it is actually kind of intended to be. It is actually intended to be kind of reminiscent of the game's overall story as well. Sort of. Yeah, it's interesting. It maybe there's a way to help it not feel inconsistent though, because that's probably what's going to happen. But that's the idea. Be nice if the limbs could be shot before death. Just like start ripping dudes' arms off. Actually, there is functionality for that. It does actually work that way. I can rip off a limb before the fucking monster's actually dead. It's fucked up. I don't know if I want to go into the prospects of like ripping a guy's arm off when his gun's like laying on the ground. He can't shoot you anymore or something. Cycling through weapons. This kind of sucks. I haven't nobody else has mentioned this yet, but I'll ask around. If I start getting this feedback from more people, I'll see what I can do to fix that. Fabricator, be useful to upgrade multiple levels. Interesting idea. Yeah, it could probably work. I could see that. Um, maybe put a save game station so that you can automatically, which is actually kind of weird. The fast travel is a save game station. It doesn't tell you that it's saving the game, but if it did, maybe I should write down in the notes that the fast travel should like literally say game saved or something, because it really does. You can run over to the fast travel station to hit and exit the game that way, or like run up to the fast travel station and save the game, and it does that. You don't actually have to hit escape to save and then exit. You, although you will have to hit escape to exit the game, regardless. Picking up stuff is awkward. Yep. This patch should address this. I completely agree, and I think it's a pretty big improvement. A couple of times loot a chest and get all button wasn't working. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So all that shit's gone now. So this is dealt with. I choose the beholder. The beholders are so weird. I mean, I can make them tougher, but they always do this thing where they kind of like, and you think that, oh, I'm gonna just cheese this beholder, right? And in reality, beholders just kind of chilling there. They don't react when you shoot them and stuff. They kind of just do this thing where they're like in a wall, and then all of a sudden they just like turn around and fucking shoot you in the face, like 1,000 eyeballs. Yeah, their strange behavior is definitely a known issue. Um, yeah. Enemies stick sometimes in the corners. I hate this. I have tried to figure out exactly what to do. There's a problem with the Unreal 4 engine where the monsters will try to navigate on spaces that they can't drop down. I don't know what the hell it is. It's probably one option that I can just check to fix this, but I've been fighting with this. I've been fighting with this already. And in fact, if you look at some of the older patch notes, I tried to say that like monsters they won't get stuck on like staircases and stuff because they love to just get stuck on staircases and it drives me crazy. And not the staircase itself, but the rise on the sides of the staircase. Um, yeah, it feels a bit of a cheese when the difficulty is part of the mayhem. Definitely true. Action points, not quite figured them out. Um, The only reason why I don't give you more when you kill stuff is because I want you to have to actually find pickups in the level. Um, Unsure what having two of the same item perks. This might just be a misunderstanding of how the system actually works. You can't have two of the same. It's impossible. You mean in your inventory? Maybe. Um, no, you just trash all your old stuff. Like if it's not being used anymore, nothing broken, no crashes, lots of running and panicking. Yeah. Need more time to have another go. Just read. You only get 3 lives. Only on insane and revulsion difficulty. All right, unless you're playing an older version of the game. Did you pirate it? Are you playing an old version? The older versions of the game do have lives earlier on. Highly recommend getting the latest version if you can, because the lives on normal difficulty and hard difficulty is harder than I want the game to be. I don't want that. But for insane and revulsion difficulty, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with smacking people down with actual loose condition. That just makes a lot of sense for those difficulties. Um, I'm gonna need to get better reflexes. It definitely helps. It definitely helps. All right, so from that. That was some really good feedback. Thank you. I'll be taking a look into a lot of this stuff for next week's patch and kind of going over a lot of stuff. I have a bunch of other things to talk about too. I'll probably make other videos, in the middle of the week and stuff like that, to kind of bring up some new ideas and some new concepts and maybe new functionality that hasn't been possible before, but may actually come into play. That'll be pretty interesting. Um, I did put up a screenshot Saturday on Game Dev on Reddit. Our Game Dev. I know I don't always approve of the use of Reddit, but it's really just the environment of Reddit that I disapprove of. In general, it's sort of a necessary evil, regardless. But yes, I do actually try to do a good screenshot Saturday, and this time I wasn't downvoted into oblivion. Woohoo! Um, that's pretty good. Even though even though things are pretty slow with the game and it doesn't have a lot of active players, I'm still seeing general improvements in both attention and sales for the game, which makes me very happy, and I hope you guys are enjoying. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna end the video, and hope you enjoy the latest patch. Stay tuned for more. You know all that.